Ghost Dog Way of the Samurai is the official title. It stars Forrest Whitaker as a giant black samurai who keeps pigeons. And
I love how you had to specify that he played a black samurai.
Well, you don't see a lot of black samurai.
You don't see a lot of white Forrest Whitaker either.
That's touche. I was up at Microsoft on Tuesday.
What were you doing there?
I was shooting some videos. I was editing a couple videos.
How was it? Were people excited there at all?
So that's what I want to talk about, because when we went out of the press conference, obviously the press conference was very mixed when you came out of it. I mean, there was they talked about a lot of different things, except for games really, and that was that. But nonetheless, we went to work, and it wasn't until a few hours later that we actually went online and saw that shit was going crazy. Because they said a bunch of stuff in the press conference that I understand people didn't like, but it was the interviews after the press conference where the used game stuff came up, the always online stuff came up. So from your guys' vantage point of just watching the stream, how fast did that stuff happen?
You mean that outrage?
The reaction, yeah. Was the reaction immediately terrible?
Well, we were live streaming the whole thing, so we could see people's comments in real time.
Yeah.
And so people were responding to exactly what they were saying, and a lot of it was just I'm so sick of sports, let's move on from this, get into the games.
Yeah.
And then it ended kind of abruptly, I felt, although we knew it was going to end at that point.
Right.
It was just sort of shocking that we had seen so little games at that point. I think that was sort of the sentiment that everyone was sharing.
I wouldn't say that it felt like there was an outrage initially. I think that there was a feeling of kind of disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to be kind of open-minded, but I think that with how things played out, I think that Microsoft has kind of ruined their image for the next 2.5 weeks,
17 days.
17 days. So I mean, that's not the end of the world. I think that the thing that we need to keep in mind is that aside from all of the bullshit, the cable TV stuff, and always online, and the DRM, and the used games garbage, aside from that, which is really one of those things that's going to take some time to figure out what the story is there, because they're obviously not explaining it very well. But that means when E3 rolls around, they're probably going to show us games, a lot of games. It's probably going to be pretty fun because they got they ate their vegetables first. This is doing the homework. This is housekeeping.
That's the worst possible way, though, to get people excited about your product.
Just
totally. Withhold everything.
They might have eaten so many vegetables that they're going to be shitting their pants when it comes time for the party.
They have horrible gas now because that's what broccoli does to you.
There's a lot of fiber in there.
Fuck broccoli.
Man, I'm so much better at analogies than you guys.
What analogy have you brought to the table today, Max?
I said that they have to use their vegetables. I was like a thing a guy in the sports
And that's
center
what
was
we were
saying.
using.
Yeah, but then you were like, oh yeah, they're going to poop in their pants because of the broccoli farts.
Listen.
I think that what's going to be interesting is that, E3, I think people are going to change their minds because obviously people like video games.
Do you think so? Do you think that the outrage that I've seen, I was blown away. I mean, I knew there'd be people pissed. I have not seen, it looks like 99% of the people commenting on it right now are fucking pissed and just never want to buy a Microsoft product. It's back to the Microsoft, when they write it with the little $sign.
Yeah.
Microsoft wasn't selling to those people. That's the weird thing. That's where they went wrong,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, they're broadcasting this press conference at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday on Spike TV.
Right.
And they're like, all right, listen up, important businessmen who are going to get a kick. Listen up, people who watch football and TV and sports. It's those people are at work. Those people are not going to be on Twitter with the hashtag Team GameSpot Xbox One or whatever. Right. That's the people who are react. I mean, they were very stupid to try and present this hour-long commercial for a fancy TV machine thing.
They totally misread their audience.
Yeah.
They messed up every possible element of their messaging that I think they could have.
I'm dumbfounded by the lack of self-awareness that they've demonstrated with this. I mean, look at Adam Orth. The guy got fired because of a Twitter comment about Always Online. That's something that they didn't even address at all the entire press conference. And they know that that's what people wanted to know about. They know people want to know if they're going to have an internet connection. They know people want to know if they're going to have to, buy a new game every time they want to, rent something. Or
I think that kind of stuff is really hard to squeeze into a 60-minute presentation where you want to announce this great new device. Like, that stuff is nitty-gritty. I don't think we're going to get firm answers on that at E3. And you know what? Sony hasn't given us firm answers. There's been a lot of stuff that like Sony has.
They were smart enough to kind of keep that vague.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sony did their presentation at it was basically 6 p.m. on the East Coast. We didn't get out of there till 9. They did like 3 or 4 interviews. They did roundtables the next day. Whereas Microsoft really let almost everyone who was there talk to people at Microsoft. And that was the problem, is because when you talk to everyone, you need to make sure that everyone is on the same page.
Yep.
This is the answer to this, and no one did that.
Yeah.
So whereas Sony showed off a ton of games, they didn't talk about any of that nitty-gritty. I mean, I would not be surprised if, although Sony said that technically you will be able to play used games, I would not be surprised if there's a big asterisk next to that you need to pay some sort of fee.
Yeah.
So it's more, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they can recover. I don't know if there's going to be enough games talk to make people forget about that, because they put themselves so much in the red.
Yeah, a lot of people also are going to want to see the hardware at E3 and have more questions about it and stuff. Like, I'm interested in the games that are coming, but I also want to know more about the hardware, which I feel like I don't know a whole lot about yet.
I mean, the thing is, people got mad at me for at the end of D-Toy show the other day for saying don't get too angry. Like they're like these sellouts, let's burn down their houses, and it's like, I just think like it's still kind of exciting that we got a new console. Like it's fun to be talking about a new machine. I'm really impressed that Microsoft managed to keep the Xbox One thing in the dark.
Yes.
We didn't see any leaked prototypes of that, and we saw like dev kits, but like it's.
What if they changed it at the last minute?
Maybe, yeah. They're like, what's the next best thing to Infinity?
Yeah, it's not actually written on there. So
even the people there at Microsoft were saying like, we could not believe that the name didn't get out. So even they were surprised.
That was impressive.
Xbox1.com is not taken.
Yeah, it is now.
It is now.
You told me that, and then like 3 minutes later, that was gone.
Yeah.
Well, I think in 2 years we're just going to call it the Xbox, right? I think that they're getting it back to that.
I'm already over the Xbox.
I'm worried that people are going to call it the X-Bone or the XB1.
It's already happening.
The Zone. I've heard the Zone too.
The Zone.
Like the Zone with an
the X-Bone Zone.
That's so bad.
That sounds so the bone
Take
zone.
a trip to the X-Bone
Wow.
Zone.
How are people in 2003 able to see this stuff? Like, how are they able to comment it from the past?
Man, I don't know. So.
I thought you'd be stoked though, because they were like sports, fantasy
I
football,
do love
HBO
sports.
Go. I was like, Zach's gonna be having a field day with us.
Yeah, I don't play as much sports video games as I do anymore.
Fantasy football though, like that was. I don't
That's
give
cool.
a shit about fantasy football, but that actually looked kind of neat to me. That was one of those things where it's.
Yeah, I mean, like you have to play with their ESPN fantasy, which I don't personally. But also, they announced a big deal with the NFL, and it's still like the thing that I wanted to hear was I'm going to be able to watch NFL games. And it did not sound like you'll be able to do that. I mean, it is not replacing like their Sunday ticket package. It just seems like added like second screen content, which is whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess the big question is, given what we know right now, which is very, very little, you guys, I mean, all three of us are probably within the next 3 years going to have both these consoles.
Oh, easily,
Which one are you going to buy right now, if you have to, for this year?
I want to hear more about the Xbox One, but right now Sony is looking like it's going to trump the Xbox One for me. And which is funny because I've totally been an Xbox gamer this whole generation. I like barely touched my PS3.
Yeah.
But
I got weird and I made the switch. I made
it
that
might be
weird
time.
transition.
A lot of it, I think, is their emphasis on indie developers and supporting them. Like, that's a huge thing for me.
Well, Sony's. I mean, at this point, Sony's like, hey, sorry, we that last machine we made, we kind of messed up, and there weren't a whole lot of games for it a lot of the time, and things were bad. So here's all the games. We're listening to you. We want to support indie. We want to do this, and Microsoft's like, hey. No, not you nerds, the guys who beat up the nerds. What's up, guys? Guess what we're making? A machine for you to watch sports guns on. And guess what? This time there's a dog for sports guns. I don't know. Microsoft didn't sell me on a single thing. Like I'm excited that there's a new machine. I think the machine itself looks kind of interesting, but like as far as a device that I will use, they didn't make me excited about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that the fact that the PS4 announcement talked about indie games is huge. I play so many indie games now. But,
they knew their audience.
Yeah, seriously. Like, they were really smart. They knew who's going to be watching that initial announcement.
Yep.
I would gotta say, though, if I'm, depending on what the exclusives this year are, I have a really nice PC that I play games on my TV on. I think I'll be able to play the best version of Watch Dogs. I'll be able to play the best version of non-exclusive next-gen games. I want something that is going to improve my sitting down on the couch and watching TV experience, because I do watch a lot of TV. And right now the Xbox looks like that's the device.
Yeah.
So at the risk of sounding like a Microsoft apologist, because they did so much stupid stuff this week and they seem so anti-consumer.
Yeah.
The Xbox seems like a more futuristic entertainment device right now than the PS4 does.
Absolutely, and it steps ahead above the 360 in that respect, which is like, I watch a lot of TV too. I mean, if I wasn't playing games as much as I am, I would probably go for the Xbox over the PS4.
Yeah. They just seem like so much more self-aware,
Yeah, which makes you wonder, like, what's Sony going to bring to the table at E3?
Games.
Games.
Yeah.
You know what, though? That's a conversation.
A console? They're going to show it to us?
Oh yeah, we still got to see the box.
Yeah.
We saw some vents. That was a savvy move to show off a little teaser beforehand.
Just little, side vents, just the tease.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you do that Photoshop? Did that come from you?
No, that wasn't me. I did the one where Don Matrick was pointing at a cable box next to a pile of manure.
That was good.
Yeah. Yo, what's up? It's a cable box and some bullshit.
That's totally,
Xbox.
totally what he talks like in private.